this new poll. This new poll from NBC News Decision Desk asked Gen Z adults between 18 and 29 years old what they consider important to a successful life. And they delineated this between men and women who voted for either Trump or Harris in the last general election. And the results kind of speak for themselves. I think you can probably guess where the priorities of marriage and family land on the women who voted for Harris compared to the men who voted for Trump. But it's just like comically accurate. So the first priority for the men who voted for Trump was having children, followed by financial independence, fulfilling job and career, being married, having money to do the things you want. That kind of goes with financial independence, owning a home, being grounded spiritually, making a family or community proud, having no debt, using your talents and resources to help others, being able to retire early, having emotional stability. And the women who voted for Harris put being married and having children absolute dead last on their list of priorities that are important to feeling that they live a successful life, right at the bottom of the list. At the top was fulfilling job and career, having money, and third, ironically, having emotional stability. I say that's ironic because these women in this age range, especially if they lean liberal, are the most likely to be medicated with SSRIs for anxiety disorders and depression. And yet they still don't feel like they have quite reached emotional stability. And there was also statistics on self-reported anxiety in this. And then they also put financial independence toward the top. And I think one white pill from these polls was that everybody ranked fame and influence dead last, regardless of their politics or gender. None of them said that fame and influence was important to them for their personal definition of success. But there was a follow-up that showed the results for women who voted for Trump compared to men who voted for Harris. And interestingly, I think they actually ranked being married exactly the same. Women who voted for Trump said the most important things to them are financial independence and a fulfilling job and career and owning a home. And then being grounded spiritually, having money to do the things you want, then having children is like kind of in the middle. And then being married is even lower than that, which I would assume most people see as connected things, but maybe not these days. It's just interesting, like men who voted Democrat and women who voted Republican prioritize marriage exactly the same way.
Right.
Despite the viral cat lady controversy that JD Vance started back in like the summer of last year. He's talking about how we have too many perpetually single like spinster cat ladies in this country. Well, it looks like if we're looking at the results for Gen Z women who voted for Trump, which are already an anomaly, they don't consider being married that important to their personal success.
Right. Yeah, we're seeing a gender divide irregardless. People say irregardless, not a word.
You can use it if you want, if it feels right to you.
In absence of political, like, if your politics, women aren't valuing.
Yeah, like even if they voted for Trump, they're not.
It's not the top priority.
They're not
financial independence is
like based, or maybe
right.
If a woman has voted for Trump, it's not really an indicator of how socially traditional she is, like
right.
how conservative her social beliefs are. That even goes for a lot of registered Republican women who are just as pro-choice as registered Democrat women.
We got a 20 from Not That John Stewart. Garter toss is for men as bouquet toss is for women.
Indeed.
I'm like kind of anti both, I have to say. I think
you
they're
know,
both kind of weird.
The birth rate's really low, so if we can get at least one couple together every wedding. So
Well, nobody thinks it's weird that there's a daddy-daughter dance and a mom-son dance. Like, isn't that just
well, that's a little bit more understandable.
It's still kind of cringe.
A mom garter toss would be a little
Well, that
weird.
would be absolutely
No one was even
beyond
suggesting
the pale.
that we go
the
down that road, Tate, by the
Look,
way.
I mean, look, there's
So,
someone out there.
Another question they asked was, how often do you feel anxious about the future? And I think we can all predict that women, being the more neurotic sex, reported way more anxiety about the future than men. With 66% of the Gen Z women saying they feel anxious all or most of the time.
Yeah.
And Gen Z men basically said, like, I don't know, sometimes I'm anxious and sometimes I'm not. Like, what kind of question is that? But I think that's like really reflective of the mental state of young women today. Like, they're really going through a mental health crisis all their own.
You're starting to see society is now starting to restructure, civilization rather, is starting to restructure around I tweeted this, structure around the reality that young women aren't that interested in having children and that men want to have children more than women. And now the data is coming through. I suspected this for a long time. I suspected that this was the case just based off of like my anecdotes with friends and male and female friends. But yeah, now the data is coming out and it's true. And yeah, I mean, you're just seeing the pushing out of men from the office and these sorts of things, or the demonization of masculinity in the office people have observed for a long time. And that's responding to just the fact that women maybe value the office more than men do in a lot of ways nowadays. And so they're going to be the ones in the driver's seat of company culture and that sort of thing. It doesn't go the other way around, though, as men have like still zero impact on like children, relatively speaking. Like, there's no way to make having a child more masculine. Like, it's very inherently an effeminate thing. Because women are the ones having the children.
Oh, you mean actually like birthing the child?
Exactly. There's no way to make that more masculine.
Or I
even
wouldn't say there's anything effeminate about like being a father, but actually,
that's what I mean.
Yeah.
If you're the guy at the Phillies game.
Maybe that guy, just that guy.
Yeah, so it's like this just completely. I mean,
they also ranked it irrespective of the political affiliations, which showed just every response, and between men and women, they both put career first.
Yeah, when they didn't you would expect men to put that first, but you wouldn't expect, or women shouldn't be putting that first.
And then,
I mean, something's broken.
Well, maybe like 20 or 30 years ago, now I would.
Even the Democrat men ranked being married and having children as a higher priority than Democrat women. So you're right.
It's very broken.
It's really not even about what side of the aisle you're on politically. Men and women are dividing culturally, socially, and politically, like in every facet of life. And in the ranking that doesn't take their voting habits into account, the men put being married and having children at 7 and 8 on the list of 13. And women put being married and having children at 10 and 11 all together, universally, regardless of who they voted for.
So some of the cope trying to explain this away was the big one, which is the obvious one, is it's because women know what the implication of having children would be on their lives versus men are absolved from a lot of the responsibilities of children. But that's just, like you pointed out earlier, it's obviously not the case, because if you look 30 years ago, you would have saw probably women wanted children a lot more than men did. So it's like, no, I think it's completely detached from like understanding how it could nerf your career. I think it's the opposite. I think men are just becoming more. I think men are becoming more sentimental, and I think women aren't. And I think that's the
sentimental.
Yeah. I think men are becoming more. Yeah, I think they're becoming more aware of sort of their long-lasting effect on the world, and they're not able to impose their will on the world through their career as much anymore. And so they feel like, okay, well, children is another sort of way to ensure that your legacy lives on and that sort of thing.
Well, yeah, your bloodline. I mean, that goes all the way back to kings, you know. That's when marriages were being put together specifically to cross bloodlines, things like that. Maybe for these under generations, what you're saying, yeah, sure. I mean, for me, I don't think that marriage or having a child is deterministic of success whatsoever and shouldn't even be included in that conversation. I mean, how many people are married with 3 or 4 children that are not successful in any way, shape, or form? I mean, you can't measure success off of reproductive capability. It doesn't make sense.
It's not
in
measuring
the real
off.
World.
It's not that, but like typically people that are entering the later years want people around them, and people that are single heading into their elderly years are usually quite miserable.
I think also they're viewing having children and being married in these categories that are in tandem with home ownership, financial stability, career success. So the men who responded that their careers are their first priority could arguably be seeing that as a means to an end of providing for a family.
Yeah, I think, like, okay, the online way to put what I'm trying to say, this maybe makes more sense if put it in the online way, is it's a very bad sign that men are aspiring to be wife guys, and it's a really bad sign that women are aspiring to be girl bosses.
Would you say
that's
those
what
are
the data's-
corollaries?
They're definitely corollaries because men are feeling like they're not gonna be able to impose. They're not gonna be able to impose their will on the world through a career, so they can impose their will by being a wife guy because that gives you some meaning, that gives you some stability. And so it's not a good.
With you,
I don't think it's a good thing that men are like really keen on having a wife and kids. And I don't. And like, I mean, everyone knows girl boss is bad. Everyone, even people on the left, like are starting to.
We
realize
don't even
it's
need
bad.
to argue about that part.
But the wife guy question, you get a lot of flack for it
Yeah.
because it's like
Yeah.
on the right, everyone's like, you just get married and have kids and everything else figures it out. But it's like to some degree, and
like that means you've made it, but
it doesn't.
No.
There's more. That is very important, and I think that was a response to men not doing that. So that's true. But like Brandon's saying, to some degree, is like, yeah, but there's still other things as a man that you're responsible for beyond having a wife and kids, and just like pumping your chest and popping the champagne once you just have a wife and kids. It's like, yeah, but that came naturally to everybody for thousands of years. So like we shouldn't be spiking the football after.
No, but
accomplishing
a lot
that.
of guys would get that, and then one of the big claims to fame is, oh yeah, we're successful because my wife doesn't have to work; she could stay at home with the kids.
Right.
I completely am able to provide. That's not really a thing for a lot of people in this country anymore.
Yeah.
It's
that's
not
a
even,
totally different benchmark than just getting married.
Yeah, totally. But that's if any, that's after. But like aspiring to that through marriage and creating a family and getting to that point, or being able to do it directly off the bat, was kind of like a staple in a lot of men heritage way back in the day.
That's why the wife guy is such an issue to some degree, because the only reason being a wife guy is like seen as impressive in any way is just because there's a scarcity of wife guys. And by wife guy, it's just a guy that his entire life is his wife and kids, which is beautiful to some degree, but the reason that is so unique,
ideal.
It's not ideal, and the reason that's like people are spiking the football over that is because it's actually rare. Like there is a scarcity of people getting married and having kids, and so that could be part of the reason why men are prioritizing it, because they do understand how rare it is. But I also think it's because that's the biggest thing they aspire to, and that's not a good sign, because men should be aspiring to a lot more than just that.
Because there's more that individuates you as a man.
When you're in your 20s, you should be delusional. Like if you're a young man and you're in your 20s, you should be delusional about what you can accomplish. Like if you're just taking very tangible goals and you're making that like the goal of your life, it's like, no, that's when you're like getting older. That's when you start just grasping on what's tangible.
It's crazy because what you're saying right now is so controversial to conservatives, and I don't understand why.
Right.
Like you just
reminded me. Because they never take
me,
the advice either. They never they
no,
and
no,
they never
no.
take it.
They all say like get married when you're way too young. They say it as sort of tongue-in-cheek thing, but get married too young, have more kids than you can afford, don't go to college, don't aspire to be one of the public intellectuals like me, right?
Yeah.
It feels like gatekeepy a little bit. But you reminded me of this tweet that I saw and responded to in December last year that said, and this is a woman posting this, "Is it true that most men just want a modest home, a bit of land, a hot loyal wife, and a bunch of kids?" And all of the men, obviously, on like right-wing Twitter were like, yeah, this is all we want. Why are we asking for too much? And then I said, like, those are all good things to want, I guess. But I don't think that should be all you want out of life. I don't think that should be an exhaustive list of what you want to accomplish in life as a man specifically. And also, if you're an aspiring wife guy, that's actually unattractive to most women. Like most women do not want to be the center of their husband's universe. And I think God's design for marriage, like from our perspective as Christians, proves that because the wife is the helpmeet. She is. People are going to take this as being like so chauvinistic, but like women are sort of designed to be like the sidekicks of humanity.
Genesis
in a way, like you're
that,
joining yourself to a mission that a man has.
Right.
And like women understand themselves to be at the mercy of their biology. They understand themselves to really only exist in relation to other people, which in a way is beautiful, but they also feel jealous of how men get to be more individualistic. And you're right that they should have more individualistic goals because of that.
Yeah, like the hot wife, the nice house, and the great kids or whatever. That should come naturally as you're like on your way to whatever great thing you're trying to do. That should be like, yeah, obviously that's going to happen to you. That shouldn't be the goal in and of itself. Because like you said, it's unattractive to women if you're like the center. That's like the centerpiece. But then B, it's like if you're making the right plays and you're on like a good trajectory, those things will just happen to you. I mean, not always, obviously. That's, I mean, I guess it's part of the anxiety for men. That's why they're prioritizing it. But like generally, if society's functioning as it should, those things should just happen as part of your matriculation. And things are breaking down, and men aren't getting those things, and that could be part of where the anxiety is coming from. But also, I think men are like completely misappropriating their priorities.
That's interesting that that was your takeaway from it, because the thing that stood out to me was that the Republican and Democrat women basically have the same exact social beliefs.
Well, yeah, because I like, because it's like voting for a party these days is not indicative of like your values.
Exactly,
anymore.
which is why I was so confused about people getting up in arms on Sydney Sweeney being a registered Republican.
Yeah.
This communicates nothing about her value system.
Right. Yeah.
Like learning that someone is a registered Republican in whatever state, like communicates nothing about their worldview.
Yeah, your party affiliation communicates like primarily two things. Is number one, this is the number one thing you learn in political science class, is like 90% of the time your political affiliation reflects your parents. That's just true. And then B, which is downstream from the first one, is as indicative of your demographic. Like if you're like a white middle class evangelical, like 80% of the time you're going to be a Republican. So it's like, no, it's not really indicative of your values, maybe the values of like your cultural group broadly speaking, but it's like, yeah, you can't really extract too much information from like if you voted for Trump or Kamala. Sadly, I think they represent two completely different Americas. But like downstream from that, yeah, I don't know why people would be surprised that GOP women would actually track with Democrat women of what they value, like somewhat similarly. It's like, that's have you spoken to a woman recently? Like that's kind of how it